And now a word from our sponsors. Tenebris Press is the home of new weird horror. Their latest release, One Hand to Hold, One Hand to Carve by M. Shaw, is a surreal body horror tale of two halves of a human cadaver who awaken in the morgue with no memory of their previous life as a single body, but with very different notions of what they want out of their new lease of life. For more information, visit www.tenebrispress.com.
Hey everybody, Tom Deedy here, Bram Stoker Award-winning author of Haven. Just like to invite everyone to come by and see me at the Ghoulish Book Festival in San Antonio, Texas on April 30th and May 1st. I will be sitting in on a couple panels, doing some readings, and it should be a great time. If you can't make it, check me out at tomdeedy.com. Thanks.
How we do this, we are the truest. Got these fangs super sharp, your shit toothless. Cold-hearted, yeah we ruthless. All the ghouls in the cut, let's get ghoulish. In the graveyard, acting foolish. Finna dance with the devil to no music. Cold-hearted, yeah we ruthless. All the ghouls in the cut, let's get ghoulish.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of a podcast I like to call Ghoulish with me, Max Booth. On today's episode of the show, I'm talking to nobody. It's just me. It's a solo show, as they say in the biz. A solo show. It's just me, Max Booth, answering some questions from folks online. Doing a bit of a Q&A because tomorrow, well, I guess today, April 12th, my new novel, MAGGOTS Screaming, is out. So what better way to celebrate that than with a Q&A, baby? Actually, I'm sure there's many little creative ways to celebrate it, but I am just fucking exhausted and drained from planning a book fest in San Antonio at the end of the month. I have nothing else in me. Between the fest and the other books we have coming out through Ghoulish Books and some screenplay stuff and working on new novels, I'm out of gas, folks. I was going to do a huge live YouTube video, like a I don't know, a big complex presentation to promote the book, but I canceled it. I don't have any energy left. So instead, I'm just gonna do a little Q&A episode of Ghoulish, and I'll say that's enough for now. Maybe you'll go pick up a copy of the book. Maybe you won't. Either way, that's fine. That's fine. So I'm going to drink some little coffee. I'm going to let that little transition sound effect take place. And then we're going to answer some cues. Yeah. Alright, folks. As I just mentioned, it's the Q&A episode, so you gave me some Q's. Now I'm going to give you some A's. Possibly. I posted on 3 separate places, begging for questions. Just begging. I said, please, folks, please, I'm desperate. My ego is starving. It needs attention. I posted on Twitter, I posted on the Ghoulish Discord channel, and I posted on Patreon. I'll probably do Patreon last, just because I don't have I don't have the tab open at the moment. But I do have the Twitter questions right in front of me. So let's go ahead and blast through those. Steven says, I'm curious what you want to do differently from other small presses that are doing the whole genre. I've really been enjoying the podcast. Well, hey, Steven, thank you for enjoying the podcast. It's always nice to find out someone is listening to the show, because often it doesn't feel like it. Often doing a podcast is strange, because, like, I guess with a radio station, you would have that instant feedback, right? Because you would get people calling in, and then you would know, oh, okay, so someone is listening. Like with a podcast, you'll just some fucking goofball. In my case, you'll just a goofball sitting at a desk, which is 2 feet away from a bed, and you have a dog at your feet, and there's nobody else in the room, and you feel it's kind of embarrassing. It's like making a TikTok video. It's like, was I a human being designed to be doing this right now? Am I doing what I should be doing? Will humans made to just fucking talk into a mic and edit that audio into GarageBand and then put it up for the entire universe to listen to, but then only like 50 people listen to it? I don't know. But thank you, Steven. I'm stoked to know you've been enjoying the podcast. Tell your friends. Tell them to leave reviews. Just hit up your friends and family and say, hey, I know we haven't talked in a while. I'm assuming you might be estranged from some of your family, Steven. Please forgive me if this isn't true. But just say, hey, I know we've been going all separate ways for a while, family, but I thought I would just reach out and try to amend some of the things I said from the previous time we met, and just say, hey, there's this podcast I like called Ghoulish, and I think you should listen to it, and I think you should review it on iTunes. I mean, it sounds like a crazy idea, but maybe this is what gets you and your family back together, Steven. To answer your actual question, you said you want to know what I want to do differently from other small presses that are also in the same genre as I am. And I didn't think I had an answer to this, but I think I do. So this might be pretty specific and not make a lot of sense to anyone who also isn't like emerged into indie horror lit, but something I've noticed for a while now, and something I'm trying to do the opposite of, is a lot of indie horror presses. If you go to like the websites, you will notice that they are companies not marketing to the fans of the genre. Instead, these companies will try to sell themselves to other writers. Instead of like presenting themselves as a company that publishes like quality fiction, they present themselves as a company that treats other writers nicely, which should just go without saying, right? So I don't know if I'm being exactly clear on what I mean, but I guess what I'm trying to say is I believe publishing companies should milk it not to other writers, but to people who might actually want to buy books. And yes, I know writers also buy books, but at the end of the day, I think mill presses should ask themselves, do we want to be known as a company that publishes spooky books and gets them in front of fans of the genre? Or do we want to be known as a service that writers send books to? I don't know. If that makes sense, great. If not, I'm sorry. I feel odd talking to myself at the moment. I should have had someone else ask me these questions. Instead, I'm talking to myself, and that's cool too. Folks, you might witness like a breakdown on a podcast, which I realize is the inevitable fate of any podcast person who does a podcast long enough. They just fucking turn into Swiss cheese on the microphone, and the old fans will like, ah, man, that guy, he really fucking changed. And the new fans will like, congrats on that Spotify money. Moving on to the next question. Jules says, of all the stories you've read for anthologies and Dark Moon Digest, name one that just made you wish you had written or could write at that level. So the one that springs to mind immediately is a novella that David James Keaton wrote called The Flying Eraserheads, perhaps? I'm blanking on the title. It was in an anthology I did called Lost Films. It's about the clerks looking at the last blockbuster who discover a VCL that allows time travel to happen. It's just a fucking excellent novella. I loved it. And good news, if you also read the novella and loved it, Keaton expanded that into an actual novel, and it's coming out, I think, this year through Polis Press. The title is called Head Cleaner. I haven't read it yet. I'm excited. I have a grudge now against Keaton that he didn't send me this book to publish, because I feel like of anything he ever wrote, this is a book I should have published. But oh well. Good luck, Keaton. You fucking sellout. I love him. I'm so happy that he's finding some success. Finally, I think the book's gonna take off in a great way. And I can't wait to see where his career goes after this. Sophia says, how does it feel knowing as an undead ghoul you will never know the sweet siren song of maggots screaming as they chow down on your decaying flesh husk? That's a good question, Sophia. I haven't given up hope yet. It sounds like it seems like you think I'm never going to die again. I've died once, for those who have been listening to the show a while. Back in 100, I was assassinated with a poison egg. Still not clear on why or who, but I came back to life pretty quickly. Not enough time for any flies to lay eggs inside of me. I am now undead, which, it is odd that I haven't been, just nothing but insects at this point. If I am undead, I'm not exactly sure on the biology of my body. I don't know the logistics. I'm just kind of going with the flow. I've been so busy, planning this book fest in San Antonio and just the other books we have coming out with Ghoulish Books, and of course this podcast. I've been trying to do 2 episodes a week. It's not the easiest thing. I haven't had the most time to really go to the doctor and figure out what is going on with me, but also I don't have health insurance at the moment. I quit my job in 2020. I was working the night shift at a hotel, and I quit that when my movie We Need to Do Something got funded. And since then, I have not had health insurance. So most things, including dying and then being reanimated, I kind of have to pretend just still not happening because I can't afford to get it checked out like I probably should. So thanks for the reminder, Sophia. Miguel says, what are some facts about maggots you wish you had not learned? So one of the main things I've talked about in other interviews that seem to gross out listeners and the people who interview me is something called maggot therapy. Now, I'm going to warn you right now, if you're squeamish at all, do not Google maggot therapy. Well, and maybe also do that 30-second skip twice on the podcast, because I'm going to tell you what it is. But so maggot therapy is basically, I don't have the info in front of me, but I'm just going off of memory. It is an old method, not used as much now, but it still is used in some countries. Well, basically, maggots, they only eat decaying flesh, right? They eat dead flesh. So, if, say, you had a major infection in your leg, say, and there's no other way to treat it properly, something they would do is they would take maggots fucking shove them into the gaping wound and just let them eat the dead flesh, the necrotic flesh. And they would leave the healthy flesh alone, and you would just be fine. Sounds disgusting? Yup. Effective? Evidently. If you go, I don't know why you would want to, but while researching my book, MAGGOTS SCREAMING, I stumbled on the Wikipedia page for maggot therapy, and right on the front of the page is a photo of maggot therapy in the process of doing what I just said, and it's pretty gross. I saw it once, and I can still see it now in my head just talking about it. It made me sick to my stomach, that photo. I don't get grossed out too easily, but that one got me. Yeah. Reggie says, between carnivorous lunar activities and the releases of Touch the Night and We Need to Do Something, there felt like a maturity and growth in your writing. Do you attribute it to anything, or do you feel like your writing has just been on this natural fuck? You know what? I'm leaving it in. I'm leaving it in, folks. Fucking goddamn professional podcasting at your service. I forgot to silence my phone before doing this. To say the question again, do you attribute it to anything, or do you feel like your writing has been on this natural progression? So I don't know exactly how true that is, but also I need to keep in check the fact that I am not the one reading these books. I mean, yeah, I read them after I write them, but there's a type of separation that comes with just a reader of a book and the person who writes the book, right? So they have a different feeling to me than maybe those who read the book. I do have to say, I think there is a difference in quality of my writing between my first 3 books and my novel, The Nightly Disease, and then from then on. So my first 3 books, Toxicity, The Mind is a Razor Blade, and How to Successfully Kidnap Strangers, I don't know if the writing quality is the best that it can be. I do think it's the best that it could have been at the point when I wrote those books. But I do think something in me kind of flipped a switch in the way I approach writing. I don't know if that's even true. Maybe I just improved as a writer after those 3 books. And then I wrote The Nightly Disease, which was like I was fucking possessed by something, unlike the other books. I wrote The Nightly Disease while working a night shift at a hotel, and it was like I had to write that book. I had no choice but to write that book. And something, maybe that's what people say when, finding your voice. Maybe I finally found my voice. I don't know how true that is or what else to say about it. But from The Nightly Disease on, I think I'm pretty proud of all those books. I don't quite think the first 3 books are great. I think there's some good stuff in them, and I'm trying to find the time to give each of them a new copy edit so I can reprint them through Ghoulish Books or Perpetual Motion Machine Publishing. Most likely PMMP, since they're not really horror books. Toxicity is a crime novel. The Mind is a Razor Blade. It has some horror elements, but I do think it's more science fiction novel than anything. And How to Successfully Kidnap Strangers, it's just like a comedy, bizarro crime type of thing. As well as, I know a lot of people think carnivorous lunar activities is really immature compared to some of my other books like Touch the Night. But I guess that's true. I don't know. It has more to do with the characters I wrote about in that book than the strength of my writing, I think. Carnivorous is about 2 very immature men who didn't really grow up. And now they all kind of encountering, they're kind of facing that head on in that book. So there's a lot of, dick jokes and felt jokes, but there's also that in all of my books, I think. Especially my new book, Maggots Screaming. I mean, it was a long chapter that's just a bunch of felt jokes, because something that happens when you decompose is you bloat. And that provided ample opportunity to just be a clown, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I think that answers that question. Moving on. Grant says, how do you like screenwriting as opposed to whipping up novels and short stories? Big fan of screenwriting. I haven't stopped doing it since We Need to Do Something. I have a few screenplays going around. One might be optioned soon. I don't know. It sounds like it might be, but nothing is ever official until it, happens. I've been hired to write a pilot for a TV show, which I've already done. Is anything going to happen with that TV show? I kind of doubt it, but it was good practice, and also I got paid to write a screenplay. So you can't beat that, man. Free money, basically. I'm writing some other screenplays. I'm going to begin a screenplay adaptation of Maggots Screaming pretty soon, on spec, because I don't think anyone's going to hire me outright to do a screenplay for a project like this. It's kind of odd, and I understand that. So I love screenwriting. I wish I had more time to invest into it, because I like it. I think it's fun. I think it's cool. Yeah. Book Nook Noggin says, will you or have you picked up any authors from the Silver Shamrock fiasco? Now, I'm not going to fucking recap what happened with Silver Shamrock. I'm not fucking Brian King show. I'm not going to try to be all, sensational and recap news. That's not what type of show this is. I'm not a gossip show. But for those who do not know what that question means, a small press called Silver Shamrock Publishing, they closed down recently due to some controversy, leaving several authors basically orphans. They have these books and they don't have a home. I'm probably not going to pick any of them up now. Not the most interested in reprinting a ton of books. I have reprinted some in the past. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm definitely more interested in fiction that hasn't been published. I also am, at the moment, open to novella submissions, so if anybody who had a novella coming out with Silver Shamrock and it hasn't been published yet, they'll obviously more than welcome to submit it to the Ghoulish Books novella open submission call, which ends on May 8th. Gotten a lot of great submissions already. I think I have 11 or 12 shortlisted. I've rejected probably 80 at this point, and I think I have 50 other novellas to read. I imagine that number's going to intensify in the coming weeks before the deadline, which is usually the case, and that's fine as well. I look forward to reading more novellas. Sucks what happened to the writers with Shamrock. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm confident if a book is good, it will find a way. That's what I think. So Lil says, what is your favorite state of decay? This is a great question, Lil. Thank you so much for asking this. My fave state of decay is probably skeletonization, because I love me a spooky skeleton. Nothing makes me feel more joy on this planet than seeing a skeleton just fucking do some spooky stuff. And you can't get to that until the rest of that flesh rots away. So yeah, skeletonization. Great stage of decomposition. And this is coming from someone who had to research extensively decomposition for the writing of Maggot Screaming. The book is actually broken up. Like, the chapter, it's only 5 chapters long. And each chapter, or stage, is, well, I just said it, it's a stage of decomposition as we follow Well, I'm not going to say anything else. We follow decomposition. I'm not spoiling too much, I think. And also, if I am, it's a book about body spoiling anyway. Because that's what happens to all of us, We'll, given life on this planet, we try to make sense of it. We do not succeed. And then the bodies that we've been crammed into, they spoil, and the stuff inside of us, it expires, and we cease to exist. We never, that's just us. That's life. Moving on. Depraved Dakota says, who in the whole community would you like to collaborate with on a novel? Additionally, what book would you want to see as a series or movie? Great question. Who would I want to write a book with? Well, the answer to that is I like money, so Stephen King. Move over, Richard Chismell. You've had enough of him. Now it's my turn to write a book with him. I don't care if it's good. I just want that Stephen King money. I have bills to pay. I have podcast hosting to pay. Let's do it, Stephen King. Any book you want to co-write, I'll co-write it. You want to write a book about some kids who have fucking special brain powers? Let's do it. You want to write a book about problematic POC characters? Let's do it. You want to write a book that features a bunch of fat phobia? I'm game. I have no fucking problem with that. I'll sell out. Give me your cash. I want it. Additionally, what book would you want to see as a series or movie? I want to see Scanlines by Todd Kiesling as a movie. Be a great movie. I published Scanlines a couple of years ago. It was a reprint, actually, despite what I just said about not being too interested in reprints. I reprinted that one, and I would like to see it as a movie. I think it would be cool. I think it would be bleak. I think it would upset people. I want to see that movie. That's all the questions I had on Twiddle.com. Moving on over to Discord. For those who don't know, there is a ghoulish Discord. I think there's like 50 people in it right now. Not right this second, but there's 50 people who have joined the Discord. It's sometimes it's active, sometimes it's not. I'll have a link to it. I'll try to remember to have a link to it in the podcast show notes. But I think the link expires every 7 days. I do update that link in my newsletter every week. So if you want to subscribe to theghoulish.substack.com, the Ghoulish Times newsletter will be definitely linked in the show notes. And just go subscribe and stay tuned for the next issue. And at the very bottom of that issue, you will find an updated link to the Discord. Go join it and say hi. I don't exactly know what I'm doing with it. My friend Miguel said, "Hey Max, you should do a Discord for Ghoulish." And then 5 minutes later, I had done that. But I wasn't quite sure why I had done that. I don't know what to do with it. To be honest, I find it kind of annoying. I don't like having to do things. Anyway, thank you for the kind folks who have joined my Discord. Thank you. Bev says on the Discord channel, what is the sound of one maggot screaming? Now, this is an interesting question because I know I've talked about this previously. I don't know if I've talked about this on my podcast, but the title of the book, Maggot Screaming, it comes from the fact that I was researching the novel. One of the books I was reading was Stiff by Millie Roach. It's a great book. I had Millie Roach on the podcast, actually. She was back in episode 60 maybe, and I think I even talked to her about me writing Maggot Screaming when I had her on the show. Anyway, in Stiff, which is a nonfiction book about bodies decomposing, basically, she talks about how when a bunch of maggots together, writhing and wiggling their bodies together, they make a sound that sounds like Rice Krispies, like in a bowl with milk being spilled over them, how they crackle and pop. Also, almost like a casserole dish in an oven. That noise it makes, and I kind of just my instant recognition with that was, oh, that is the sound of maggots screaming, and that's how the title came about. But Bev wants to know what is the sound of one maggot screaming, and luckily I've done that research, and I even tracked down an audio clip, which I'm happy to play right now. Okay. Alright. Hello! Hello! Is anybody out there? I'm one maggot! I'm only one maggot! Hello! I'm so lonely! So that was the sound of one maggot screaming. I hope that satisfied your little curiosity, Bev. I know it did mine. And Yulgos Katronus says, do maggots eat ass? Now this question was not brought up. This topic was not brought up in Millie Roach's Stiff. There was nothing about whether or not maggots eat ass. So if you think about it though, maggots eat anything that's dead, right? They eat dead flesh. And the last time I checked, which was a couple minutes ago, my butt has flesh. So if I died, which I did, by the way, but if I died and I wasn't brought back to life, I am confident some fucking hilly maggots would have found my ass and just fucking had themselves a butt buffet. So yes, maggots eat ass. They love eating ass. It's all they think about. Okay, over on Patreon. By the way, we do have a Patreon account. I don't know if I've talked about it recently, but if you go over to patreon.com/PMM Publishing, you can support us on Patreon. We have some fun bonuses. We have, if you pay a certain amount, you get to choose an ebook every month that you want. At the $5 amount, I give, if you're someone who likes to write fiction, I provide a writing prompt, and then you write that, and then I read it, and I give you feedback. If you subscribe at just $1, you fucking get every issue of Delk Moon Digest, the magazine we run. Pretty cool. I think you should go do it. Pilsen listening, go subscribe at Patreon. Now, we have several questions on the Patreon account, all of them from Thomas Joyce. Thank you, Thomas. You all really kind. Thomas was probably the first person who read Maggot Screaming. For a while now, he's been reading my books like the moment I finished them, and he has become a really important person to me in the process. I trust his judgment a lot, and I appreciate him. Now let's make fun of him on Patreon. Okay, so Thomas says, question 1. What would you do if a good friend called you over and showed you 3 doppelgangers buried in your backyard? I guess it depends if, in this reality of the question, have I written Maggot Screaming? Because I would probably think someone's fucking with me. But if I have not written Maggot Screaming, I imagine I would probably try to cut one of them open. Because I would want to know what's going on inside that body. Yeah. Thomas Joyce also says, what reason did TSU, aka Texas State University, actually give for denying my request for a tour of the Forensic Anthropology Research Facility? Also, do you think they realize that the name's acronym is FRILT? I am 100% confident they have realized that's what the acronym is. Have they embraced it? I don't know. In the acknowledgments of the book of Maggot Screaming, I do write how I put in a request to walk around the body film up in San Marcos at TSU. and they told me no. They said my presence would disrespect the specimens they have there. And that's what I wrote, and that's what happened. they told me no. They said it would be disrespectful, which, all right. But you don't mind disrespecting me? Someone who's alive? I hope I did justice to body films without little help. And if I did, give them a big thanks. And if I didn't, well, I guess they'll even more responsible than that, huh? Alright. Thomas Julius also says, what was your favorite scene to write in the book? And why is it the explanation for Dylan's fascination with flipping people off? And what Comrade reveals at the end of the scene. So Comrade is a dog in the book. Spoiler, he does not die, so don't be alone. Comrade makes it out of the book safe and sound. In the book, there's a pretty long tangent talking about the teenage boy's past fascination with flipping people off and also flipping himself off. And this is, unfortunately, 100% nonfiction. As a boy, I was just fucking addicted to flipping people the middle finger. I would do it constantly. It ended one day when I was, my dad and I were outside Blockbuster. My mom was inside, and I flipped off some lady just walking by to get inside of her vehicle. I thought nothing of it until she drove out and did like a U-turn, so she was facing my dad's window, and she told him what I had done. And I just began crying immediately. I thought the fucking universe was about to implode on me. And I broke down and I told my mom and my dad that I did it all the time. I couldn't stop doing it. I told them that I did it to myself. Sometimes at school, I would excuse myself and go to the bathroom and just flip myself off in the mirror. It was like this crazy urge that I couldn't control. I just had to do it. I had to flip myself off. And my parents thought that was the funniest fucking thing in the universe, and I can't blame them, to be honest, because it is pretty funny. I don't know what was going on with that. They asked if I even knew what it meant, and I said no, which was kind of a lie. But I do recall like really saw it for the first time, and that was a mostly terrible Jim Carrey movie called Lyle Lyle. There's a scene where his assistant is quitting, and he says, "I'll give you a raise," and she said something like, "I'll give you a raise," and she flips him off, and he's like, "Oh, how could you?" And yeah, I don't know. I just like that scene, I guess. I don't fucking know. Yeah. Thomas also wants to know what led to me choosing Corinne Halbert for the Kevlar. It is fantastic. Thank you, Thomas. I agree. I knew the Kevlar. I wanted it to be kind of psychedelic looking, bright colors, because while the book does deal with some really depressing and dark material, it's also, I hope, pretty funny and comical, and those mean the same thing, don't they? I am redundant. I just thought it would... I'm sick of seeing these bleak, dark Kevlar's. I wanted something bright and eye-catching. So I posted on Twitter asking for some recommendations. I got a few recs, and I followed up with them. And the first people I contacted were really, really expensive, like thousands and thousands of dollars. So I did not go with them. But someone else... Bucket of Blood Books and Records, a great bookshop in Chicago, they recommended Corinne. Was it Corinne? Fuck, it might be Corinne. I apologize if I've been saying her name wrong all this time. I think it's Corinne. It is Corinne, because I just watched The Shield, and Vic Mackey's wife. It's Corinne. I've been saying Corinne this whole time, like a goddamn idiot. Corinne Halbill. She was recommended by this bookshop, and she's great. She has a comic book she does, a DIY comic book called Acid Nun, that is just super fucking cool. She specializes in these bright psychedelic type of kobolds, and she was in my budget, and she was stoked to do the book, and yeah, that's it. Okay, I think I'm on my last question now, also from Thomas Joyce. He says, what prompted you to leak the book online a week before the release date? This is a great question that many people have asked me, and I haven't really responded to these questions. Because it's true. Last week, I tweeted the following. One rule you'll often notice when browsing publishing advice columns is when you have a new book coming out, it's considered a bad idea to leak the entire novel online for free a week before the official release. And then also in that same tweet, I included a Google Drive link to the ebook of Maggots Screaming. Because I thought it was funny. And also, I mean, this is kind of a touchy subject, I think, and a lot of my co-writing friends and enemies, they disagree with me, but not exactly opposed to piracy. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think books should be available, movies should be available to anyone. If they can't afford to read a book, I think that's fine if they just fucking pirate it. I'm not against that whatsoever. And I know a lot of other writers will listen to this and they will clench their butts and say something about like, you're taking food from my dinner table. You know, that's fine to think that too, but I disagree. I don't feel that way. I don't know if it's because I'm a different generation that grew up with the internet, but I think it's fine. I don't want to hold anyone, I don't want to restrict anyone from accessing my work. If you are interested in reading anything I've written, you can just have it if you can't afford it. It's fine. If then in the future you decide, oh, you know what, I do want to buy this book, I read it for free, I loved it, and now I'm at a position where I can afford to buy a copy, that's cool, but it's not necessarily. Same goes if you read a free copy and you want to go leave a review someplace or tell a friend, that's also awesome. But I'm not expecting that. It's a nice little bonus. But I write books to entertain people. I'm trying to make a living at it. I guess technically I kind of am at the moment. But I don't think if a bunch of people also download a copy for free, I don't think that's going to change much about my own situation. I think it's fine. I also think it's kind of cool. You know, I wish mill writers did stuff like that, I guess, is what it comes down to. I think it paves a nice path for other people to kind of realize, oh, wait, maybe I don't have to be so protective of my work. Maybe I can just get it out there and it'll fall into the right hands. It's going to be fine. If you're concerned about piracy, don't. You're gonna be fine. And if you want to read Maggots Screaming for free, you can. I will include a link in the show notes. But also I have the link over on my Twitter account at Give Me Your Teeth. It's at the moment it's the pinned tweet, but I can't promise it's gonna always be the pinned tweet. I'll probably have something else pinned there in the near future. If you have trouble finding the link, just fucking email me at maxboothii@gmail.com and I'll send it to you for free. That's fine. If you want to buy it, that's cool too. Go on over to Ghoulish Books. If you buy a copy from my website, ghoulishbooks.com, I will even sign the paperback. But it's available anyplace else. It's on Barnes & Noble, it's on IndieBound, it's on bookshop.org, it's on Amazon, but honestly, I hope you don't buy it on Amazon. It's a fucking bad company, and I don't want to support it. So maybe don't buy it from Amazon, you know? But if you have to, you have to, and that's okay. I have an audiobook in progress at the moment. I have someone who has recorded all the audiobook, but there's still some mistakes that need to be fixed before it can be released, and it's going to take a while to fix those mistakes. So just have patience if you were waiting on the audiobook. It is going to happen, just not for a couple weeks, maybe a month or so. And if you can't fill the audiobook, guess what? I'm going to release it on this really fucking podcast. Feel free. So that's something else you can look forward to. I'll probably break it up into 5 episodes because the book is pretty long. If you don't know, my novella, We Need to Do Something, the audiobook is on this podcast channel. Feel free. I think it was like episode 1... I don't know. I don't know what episode it is, but you can find it if you scroll back. But that book is only like 36,000 words long, and it's like 4 hours long of an episode. But MAGGOTS Screaming is like 3 times as long. It's like 11 hours long. So yeah, I'll probably break it up into 5 episodes because the book is 5 sections. So that makes the most sense to me. I've answered all the questions. The book is out. I mean, I'm recording this at, right now, it's 11:34 p.m., Monday, April 11th. By the time I get this edited and uploaded, it will be the 12th. The book is out. I think the book is great. I don't know if it's cool to be, like, confident about the stuff you write, but I'm pretty confident about this book. I'm not always confident, but this one I am. I think it's good. I think it's the best thing I've written. I'm really happy with it. If you like the movies of Frank Henenlotter, if you enjoy just odd and sick and depraved and unhinged shit, I think MAGGOTS Screaming is something you will enjoy. I had a fucking thrill writing this book. If nothing else happens with it, that will be fine, because I wrote it. I wrote it the way I wanted to write it, and I released it the way I wanted to release it, on my own terms, without compromising to anything, because sometimes that's what you have to do. And with a book like MAGGOTS Screaming, which has a really odd premise and really odd characters and scenes that no commercial press would ever even dream of touching, that's the way you have to go, and that's A-okay with me. Because you know what? Sometimes you have to live spooky, die spooky.
And thank you to our sponsors, Tom Deedy, author of Haven and the Clearing, Tenebris Press, an independent publisher of new weird horror from diverse and unsung voices around the world, Bucket of Blood Books and Records, Chicago's premier destination for new and used horror books and movies, Witty Books, an independent bookstore in Tulsa, Oklahoma, specializing in speculative fiction, small press titles, all things spooky. Find them online at wittybooks.com. My Horror Confessional, a horror movie podcast, Nightworms, a horror subscription service, Horror DNA, a horror website, Vic Carey, author of Thorazine Dreams, and Nightfire, publisher of books for the dead, the living, and everyone in between. Nightfire is the new horror imprint from the folks at Tor Books.
Live spooky, die spooky.
Rest in peace, Max.